I would never in a million years believe that he would do anything like this, to himself even, or to anyone else.
Does it ever feel like 2026 made up its mind to break us before it even got started? Because what happened in the last 4 months doesn't feel normal at all. Starting with how January brought El Mancho that troubled a lot of people. Then February came, and Nancy Guthrie mysteriously disappeared without a single answer left behind. And somehow in the middle of all these, most people nearly forget that the United States and Iran stand at the edge of something that could change everything. And the sad part? This year is not even halfway gone. But just when people are still trying to process all these, the worst happened on April 19th, Shreveport, Louisiana. A case that is still giving everyone sleepless nights till today.
He returned here, he began to execute children.
Before the city was fully awake that Sunday morning, 8 children had already been brutally shot inside a home on West 79th Street. 3 boys and 5 girls. 7 of them shared a father, and the 8th was their cousin.
The kids played in the yard every evening.
That father was Shamar Elkins, 31 years old, who spent 7 years in the National Guard. Sometime between Saturday evening and 5:55 a.m. on Sunday, while all those children were still asleep, he finished putting together his carefully crafted plan. And the thing is, this wasn't something that came out of nowhere. Unlike most coverage that just stopped at the surface, today we go deeper by looking at the criminal record that should have barred him from ever touching a firearm. Also, the mental health system that discharged him back into a crisis. And most importantly, the man who was now federally charged for giving him the gun, leaving the question that every person who knew Shamar Elkins is now asking, how did all of this happen? Like this video and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any details. Shamar Dwan Elkins was born December 7, 1994 in Shreveport, Louisiana. He grew up in Cedar Grove, the North Side neighborhood. His biological mother, Mahalia Elkins, gave birth to him as a teenager while battling a crack cocaine addiction, and so she could not raise him. Fortunately, a family friend named Betty Walker stepped in and raised him. At 18, Elkins enlisted in the Louisiana Army National Guard, serving as a signal support system specialist and a fire support specialist. Both roles involved weapon systems, coordinating firepower, and operating under pressure. In August 2020, he left the Guard with the lowest enlisted rank and returned to Cedar Grove with no documented transition support on public record. 7 years of military training, followed by a transition to civilian life with no clear bridge between the two. That must have been tough for Elkins. Afterwards, he went to work at UPS. His co-worker, Willie Vasher, described him to the New York Times as someone who appeared to be a devoted family man. But Vasher also noticed something he couldn't explain right away: a bald spot on Elkins's head. Turns out Elkins pulled his own hair out throughout the workdays. His family had noticed it, and even everyone around him could see it too, but nobody asked what it meant. By 2026, Elkins had 2 families, one from which he was married to Shiniqua Pugh, with whom he shared 4 children, and the other from his previous marriage to Christina Snow, with whom he had 3 more children. Christina lived on Harrison Street, 1 block from the West 79th Street home, where Elkins lived with Shiniqua. 2 families, financial pressure across both, and a dissolving marriage. Could that have been the reason why he did what he did?
I would never in a million years believe that he would do anything like this, to himself even, or to anyone else.
Shamar Elkins had at least 2 prior criminal convictions before April 19th, 2026. The first was a DWI in 2016, and the second became the one that changed everything about what happened on that Sunday morning. It happened that in 2019, Elkins was arrested near Caddo Magnet High School. According to a police report cited by KTBS, he pulled a 9mm handgun from his waistband and fired 5 rounds at a vehicle approximately 300 feet from the school while children were present outside. He claimed the driver had pointed a gun at him first. He pleaded guilty to illegal use of a weapon, and the school property charge was dismissed, thereby receiving 18 months of probation. Under Louisiana law, that conviction legally barred Elkins from possessing any firearm until at least 2029. But on April 19, 2026, he had 2 weapons, a small caliber handgun used in the first part of the attack, and a Mossberg rifle-style pistol, which police described as an assault pistol that he was still carrying when officers confronted him in Bossier City hours later. 2 days after the shooting, on April 21st, the U.S. Department of Justice provided the first public answer to how those weapons reached him. Federal agents charged Charles Ford, a 56-year-old Shreveport resident, also a convicted felon, with being a felon in possession of a firearm and making a false statement to federal agents. A TF traced the rifle to its original legal purchaser, who identified Ford as the person she had given it to. But when agents first interviewed Ford, he denied ever having the weapon. But he later admitted he kept it under the seat of his truck. He also admitted he believed Elkins took it from him. Ford now faces 15 years on the felon in possession charge and 5 additional years for lying to federal agents. As the case progressed, U.S. Attorney Zachary Keller confirmed that the investigation into the full firearms acquisition chain is ongoing. How Elkins obtained the handgun has not yet been publicly addressed. 2 convicted felons, 1 illegal weapon passed between them, a legal prohibition on the books since 2019, and a system that never flagged it until after 8 children were dead. Now, there was a moment in 2023 that reframed everything that followed, and it was the moment that, had it been reported, would have entered every subsequent system interaction as critical information. In 2023, Shaneka Pugh considered leaving Elkins. According to Betty Walker, who spoke directly to the New York Times, when Shaneka raised the possibility of leaving and taking the children, Elkins was furious. He told her directly that if they tried to leave, he would kill her, kill the children, and kill himself. Walker said she dismissed it when Elkins told her he was just playing. Shaneka stayed and they got married in April 2024. However, as things were not going well between them, the court date to finalize their divorce was set for Monday, April 20th, the morning after the shooting.
He did not want to be divorced. He wanted to be married and raise his children. He didn't want anybody else to raise his children.
Sadly, that threat was never reported to police or appeared in any court document until after 8 children were dead. And the fact that Shaneka stayed did not mean she wasn't afraid, because she eventually did file for divorce, citing infidelity. A detail confirmed to CNN by Troy Brown, Elkins' brother-in-law, who lived in the West 79th Street home, proved that the 2023 threat had been sitting inside that marriage for nearly 3 years. And had it been reported in 2023, it would have been on file when he presented at the VA. It would have been relevant to the divorce proceeding and would have triggered a lethality screening.
So I know that there was some infidelity she didn't necessarily express it to me, but I do know that she came to me and she asked me about helping her properly file for a divorce. And to my understanding, prior to this incident, they were scheduled to go to court on Monday, which was the next day. My cousin did express that, he was augmentative about it, so he was having arguments with her about it, but there was no physical anything that was going on, not prior to what went on Sunday.
In January 2026, confirmed by Troy Brown to Time magazine and the AP, Elkins checked himself into the Veterans Affairs Hospital in Shreveport for a mental health evaluation. Betty Walker confirmed separately to the New York Times that this followed a suicide attempt. He recognized something was wrong, and he sought help voluntarily. He stayed approximately 10 days before he was discharged. Troy Brown told reporters that when Elkins returned home, he seemed better, talking about being a good father and getting things right. Brown asked him directly whether he needed to go back to the hospital. Elkins told him he was fine, that he would just deal with it. Brown told AP, "I wish he had gone ahead and gotten the help before the VA sent him back into a marriage in active dissolution, financial pressure across 2 households, and no documented follow-up support structure on public record. The same conditions that produced the crisis in the first place, unchanged. Within weeks of discharge, things deteriorated." On Easter Sunday, April 5th, Elkins called his mother, Mahalia, and his stepfather, Marcus Jackson. He was crying and told them Shaneka had filed for divorce and that he was drowning in dark thoughts. His stepfather tried to reassure him. Elkins replied, "Some people don't come back from their demons." The call ended. No crisis line was contacted, no welfare check was made, and no one called the police. As the New York Times noted, most families respond exactly this way because most of the time a call like that does not produce what happened here. The family's response was not unusual. What was unusual was the full picture. The family couldn't see the weapons prohibition, the 2023 death threat, or the discharge from inpatient psychiatric care back into an escalating situation. The question that remains publicly unanswered is what Elkins' VA discharge assessment contained. Was a lethality screening conducted? Was the pending divorce flagged as a risk factor? Was the 2019 firearms conviction cross-referenced with the discharge plan? Christina Snow was Elkins' ex-wife and the mother of 3 of his children, living 1 block from his current home on West 79th Street. Their 3 children are Braylon Snow, age 5, Kadarian Snow, age 6, and Soraya Snow, age 11. At approximately 5:55 a.m. on April 19, Elkins arrived at her door on Harrison Street first before he went to the West 79th Street house. He knocked, he shot her 9 times, took all 3 of her children, and drove to West 79th Street. Christina Snow survived. Her aunt LaShun Berry told CNN that after being shot, Christina used Siri to call 911. She was conscious enough to give investigators a full account of what happened at her door before sunrise. As of the most recent confirmed reporting, both Christina Snow and Shaniqua Pugh are expected to survive. Shaniqua sustained multiple gunshot wounds to the face and stomach and has undergone multiple surgeries. The Shreveport Police dispatch log confirms officers did not receive the call from Harrison Street until 6:07 a.m., over an hour after the first call from West 79th Street. Dispatch linked both locations at 6:10 a.m. At 6:20, officers received information that Christina's 3 children might be inside the carjacked vehicle. At 6:40, officers confirmed the vehicle was empty. The Caddo Parish Coroner's Office confirmed all 8 children were killed at the West 79th Street address, including Christina's 3. The precise sequence of events between the 2 locations remains part of the active investigation. Why Elkins went to Harrison Street first, whether driven by the affair, the divorce, or something specific that occurred that night, has not been formally established by investigators. Saturday afternoon, April 18th, less than 12 hours before the first call to dispatch, Freddie Montgomery, a neighbor across the street, walked past and saw Elkins sitting on his front porch watching the children play in the yard. The 2 men waved at each other. Montgomery told CNN there was nothing in that moment that suggested anything was wrong. That same evening, Elkins took his eldest daughter to dinner, just the 2 of them. He posted about it on social media with laughing emojis. The night before he killed her siblings, he was photographed smiling over a burger with his child. At 9 p.m., Troy Brown left for his night shift. He told AP that Elkins was calm, joking around as Brown moved his car out of the driveway to let him leave. Brown's nephew, Markedin Pugh, 10 years old, cousin to Elkins' biological children, was alive inside the house when Brown drove away. Markedin did not survive the night. Brown's wife survived by jumping from the roof. His 2-year-old daughter jumped alongside her with scratches. His nephew was found dead inside the home. The divorce papers were ready. The court date was the next morning. The 2023 threat that if Shaniqua ever left, he would kill everyone was about to become legally irrelevant because the marriage was ending with or without his consent.
All I can tell you today is my heart is saddened. It has brought me to my knees.
What behavioral research on familicide consistently documents is directly applicable here. Perpetrators in these cases rarely act impulsively. The violence is planned. The perpetrator typically presents as calm in the hours before, sometimes unusually so. The trigger is not sudden rage. It is the perception of losing control, a court date, a finalization, a point of no return. Every element of that pattern was present on the night of April 18th. The hours between 9 p.m. and 5:55 a.m. are not fully documented, but what is confirmed is where he went when those hours ended. 5:55 a.m., Shreveport Police received the first call, a disturbance at the 300 block of West 79th Street. The caller is on the roof. The suspect is inside. Someone has been shot. 6 a.m., she and her children escape from the roof and are in the backyard. 6 o'clock 1 a.m., officers arrive on scene. The caller was Kosha Pugh, Shaniqua's sister, who lived in that house. She and her 12-year-old daughter both jumped from the roof. Both sustained broken bones. Both survived. Kosha made those calls while the attack was still happening inside the home below her. Police spokesperson Chris Bordelon confirmed that most of the children appeared to have been shot in their sleep. Most were shot in the head. 7 of the 8 were found inside the home. The 8th was found dead on the back roof. Bullet holes were recovered from the rear door, evidence that at least some of the children had tried to escape through the back of the house and didn't make it out. On how those final moments unfolded, a claim was made on social media by an account identified as belonging to Michael Mayance, described as a former Army mentor of Elkins, stating that Elkins arrived at his home. They spoke briefly, and Elkins then shot himself. That post was subsequently deleted. The Shreveport Bossier advocate confirmed the claim exists, but noted the post was removed. Louisiana State Police spokesperson Eddie Thomas confirmed the investigation will not be rushed and that results will be delivered to the Caddo District Attorney's Office. Whether Elkins died from a self-inflicted wound or from officer gunfire remains officially under investigation. 7:03 a.m., Shamar Elkins was pronounced dead at the scene. The 8 children confirmed by the Caddo Parish Coroner's Office are Jayla Elkins, Shayla Elkins, Braylon Snow, Caleb Pugh, Kadarian Snow, Layla Pugh, Marcaden Pugh, and Soraya Snow. 5 girls, 3 boys, all killed at West 79th Street. Step back from the timeline and look at the complete picture. A 2019 weapons conviction on file that legally barred Elkins from firearms until 2029, a January 2026 VA, hospitalization following a confirmed suicide attempt, a divorce proceeding with a court date the following morning, a 2023 death threat against his wife and children that was never reported to any authority, a brother-in-law living in the same house who watched the deterioration and asked directly whether Elkins needed to return to the hospital. 5 data points spread across law enforcement records, the VA system, the court system, and private family knowledge. Never connected, never assembled into a single risk picture. Never acted on before April 19th. Shreveport Police Chief Wayne Smith said at his Monday press conference that the violence stemmed from a domestic dispute and added that the chances were good. This was not the first time implying prior incidents that went unreported or undocumented. As of April 23, 2026, 4 investigations remain open. The ATF Full Firearms Procurement Inquiry, the federal prosecution of Charles Ford, the Louisiana State Police officer involved shooting investigation, and the Shreveport Police Department's active motive investigation. None has produced final public findings. The Louisiana Governor's Loved One, Louisiana Foundation has covered all funeral costs for the 8 children. The Community Foundation of North Louisiana has launched dedicated survivor funds. Both women remain in recovery. The systemic questions this case forces are specific. Should a domestic violence lethality screening be mandatory when a divorce is filed against someone with a prior weapons conviction? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. If this is the kind of reporting you want, verified, sourced, no filler, subscribe.